live of today's proceedings of the 87th Texas Senate.
Testing. Test. Test. Cool. All right, I know no one's viewing this right now, but people will be viewing this in the future, most likely, or at least a couple people. So, everyone, this is Not So Slim Jim. If you're not aware, last night, I guess the House decided, you know what? Screw it. We're going to be working through the weekend. And they passed HB 1927 in the House last night. So the final step we have at this point now is for the Senate to vote on constitutional carry, which is really just permanentless carry, but whatever. You go with what they give you. And they're going to be doing that hopefully this morning, but sometime today. So I'm going to be live streaming it. I said I would, and I'm a man of my honor, damn it. So we're going to be live streaming this. Usually they're going to get to it early to knock it out. So hopefully they do that. Yeah. So, So I can't hear you. Can you hear me now? That better, Matt? You play with the mic settings. There's always a few issues first thing. Talk. Talkity. Oh. Talk. Is that better, Matt? Can you hear me now? Okay, well, I guess Matt needs to turn his volume back up. But anyways, so thank you for getting all the audio. That's why I want to start these a little early to get all that little stuff figured out, because StreamYard is not always perfect. But anyways, you guys got any echo, anything like that, any other issues before we get going any further, before I look like a complete dweeb? Okay, cool. All right, so like I said last night, the Texas House passed 1927. So the only thing we have left is for it to pass the Senate today. Hopefully they're going to do it early. Usually the Senate wants to do these kind of bills. Puts echo in the feedback. Is there echo in the feedback now? Or are we getting better? You know, hold on, I'm going to get a set of headphones. Yeah, I'm going to get a set of headphones. I think I have one for that somewhere. Is that a headphone jack? I don't know. Set of headphones. That way we can get this taken care of. So let me get my wife to grab me a set from downstairs and she can bring them up to me. Text message. Yeah, the very beginning's boring, so sorry in advance. Got to get all this stuff figured out. So what are you guys doing on this fine day? Sitting around being lazy like me? There we go. Getting the set of headphones. That should alleviate that issue. Kind of had a little bit of problem last time, so I bought this fancy little thing that turns a USB port into headphone jacks. I didn't know if I was going to need it. So, although the video is going to go away for 1 second, so I have to swap my video input.
Okay, is there still an echo? Last time I figured out, and then everything went to crap. Check, check. I got a stupid delay in my end. Okay, well, hopefully everything's going to keep working. All right. Give me 1 second to figure out my headphones because I get it like a 1 second delay, so it's weird. Check. No, still a delay. Check. There we go. All right. I think I got figured it out. Can you guys hear the Senate and me, or just me, or just the Senate? Okay, yeah, the Senate's super quiet, so because I can hear them in my end, so technically you guys should be able to hear it too. Anyways, when they start making more noise, we'll make sure we get there. Okay, after a bunch of screwing around, yeah, I can hear them because I got headsets on. There's like light muttering, like a little bit of back talk, people screwing around. So once they start getting more noise, then we'll make sure it's working. Okay, so someone asked, do I know they're supposed to be voting today? From what we're hearing, they're supposed to be voting on it today. because, like I said, the House voted on it late last night. They got it through. The Senate said they want to get it done. They want to get this over with. So they said they're going to be voting on it today to get it done, to get out of the way. That's what we've been told. Yeah, they usually, Jacob, they usually mute when they're not talking. In this case, they just have the background microphone going. And like I said, with my headphones on, I can hear them, but it's quiet. But yes, so this is the last step. Once it gets voted through the Senate today, it will then be going to the governor's desk to be signed. So I know a lot of people are asking about what changes were made in the committee when it came to this bill. So I talked to my guy, CJ Grisham. He might actually be live streaming this as well. I don't know. But we went through all the amendments between the House and the Senate and changes in what this bill actually pertains for. Yeah, Jacob. Yes, it actually reminds me of the open carry bill. I was in the House chambers when that passed, like 2015, I think it was. I don't know. It's been a long time, but that one was the same thing. Like literally, they passed it like 3 minutes till midnight. It took forever, and those little seats in the gallery aren't made for full-size people, so my butt fell asleep. It was stupid. So while we're waiting for the Senate, because, you know, they got to go through all their dumb stuff, I have yet to get a new answer on this. Okay, for Belton Hunter, I have yet to get an answer if this will allow concealed carry without a license. Yes, this will allow for both conceal and open carry. Now, I'm going to go through all the changes. So if you guys want to hang out for a minute, I'm going to be making a shorter video later on after this is all done for people who don't want to sit through however freaking long this is going to be. But here is what this bill pertains to and the amendments made. First, it adds the ability to disarm. Okay, so right now in the state of Texas, a law enforcement officer has the ability to disarm a license holder for his own safety. Now, there's limitations on what exactly they can do it for. So let's say there's two guys who are open carrying and they're having a loud fight and pushing and doing stuff like that. At that point, the officer can step in and disarm them for his safety and public safety. Another time he can disarm someone is, let's say, during a legal Terry stop. So during a traffic stop, or if he's investigating someone for a crime and he has the legal ability to detain someone. So it doesn't mean he can just walk up to you on the street and go, hey, you're carrying a gun. For my safety, because I want to have a consensual stop, I'm going to disarm you. That does not cover it. So the existing law for when an officer can disarm you will be extended to people who do not have a license. Now, there was an amendment, the Huffing's amendment, that was added to the bill in the House that originally said, law enforcement officers do not have the legal ability to disarm someone unless they are legally detained, but they removed it because they're like, oh, well, it's already covered underneath Terry Doctrine and Brown v. Texas and a whole bunch of other ones. But of course, the only way we can get this bill through is if we don't make it plain English and idiot proof for law enforcement. And there's too many Democrats who are whining and complaining. So we had to remove that amendment. It's still law, but unfortunately, I don't know if you guys seen a lot of YouTube videos, but not all law enforcement are too well versed on the actual meaning of law. Most of them are pretty smart. I'd say probably 95% of cops out there are competent enough in understanding their job, but unfortunately, there's that 5% who just don't get it. Okay, adds language stating that the Second Amendment is not just for militias. Yes, the beginning of the bill very clearly states that the carrying of a firearm is not just for the protection of the free state and the well organization of a militia, which a lot of people, especially people on the left, like to say, oh, well, it's just for the carrying of a militia and blah, 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 blah. It's not for regular people. It's just for hunting and militias. Well, this bill very clearly states that it's not just for that. It's also for the protection of the individual and for in their home. So it's a little clarification they threw in there to kind of that little, to the left. Okay, it re-adds the exemption for, yeah, excuse me, I wrote this in a hurry. My handwriting is like a doctor because I got screwed up nerves in my hands. To oh, expungement for unlawful carry. Okay, so the House had originally added that if you had a charge and then you were, well, I'm having a brain fart. Usually I edit this out in my regular videos. So if you were charged with and then you got convicted of unlawful carry of a firearm, and that was your only charge, that you can get it expunged. Now you got to request it. They don't do it automatically. You can request for an expungement, and that was removed in the Senate. That was re-added back into this bill. So now, if you are ever now, if you were charged with that and other crimes, you can get just that expunged. But if you're sitting in jail right now, okay, can you guys hear them talking? Give me a thumbs up. You can hear them. Can you hear them better now?
For the good of our fellow man and woman. And it's in the name of Jesus that I
Mr. President, there is a message from the House.
Admit the messenger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am directed by the House to inform the Senate.
You guys still get an echo? Sorry about that. Test, test. Okay. Fuck.
Members, the following message from the governor. Secretary, read the message.
That's what we got.
To the Senate of the 87th Legislature, regular session. On January 21st, 2021, I submitted the name of Ruth Ruggiero Hughes for appointment as Secretary of State. Because she resigned, I hereby withdraw her nomination and request that the Senate return the appointment to me. On January 21st, 2021, I also submitted the name of Cody C. Campbell for appointment to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Because he resigned, I hereby withdraw his nomination and request that the Senate return that appointment to me. Respectfully submitted, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, to nominations.
Okay, real quick. You guys getting a lot of echo still?
Members, that concludes the morning call.
I want to know if I talk, if I'm getting echo or not. Okay, sweet. I already tried this. The same settings. I got echo before, but now there's no echo. I swear to God, StreamYard, I'm going to strangle you. Okay, so now they're back to not talking again. Where we left off was, okay, expungement. So you can apply for expungement if you were, once this goes into effect. Now we'll get to when it goes into effect shortly. Okay, they also added on, this is a new one, that the Democrats wanted this added, that the DPS has to spend a bunch of money and they have to track how many people are getting licensed to carry between now and 2028. And they want to figure out over a decade-long period how many people are going to get a license to carry in the past few years versus how many people per year are going to be getting them between now and, like I said, 2028. Because I guess a lot of states that get licensed or unlicensed carry, a lot of people kind of get that sweet taste of freedom and go, you know what? I like this, but when I travel, I can't carry out of state now. So they go and get their license, and that way they can travel to other states that don't have permitless or constitutional carry. And so usually the numbers go up. So they're going to be tracking to see exactly where that goes. They're also going to be adding free online safety classes. Now, they already had it amended where they're going to be adding free classes that tell people the laws, like, hey, here's where you can carry, here's where you can't carry. But they're adding additional classes where they're also going to give people like, hey, don't shoot yourself in the dick. Here's how to handle a gun properly. Pretty much the entire safety class you get for an LTC, they're going to make for free online. Hey, Jimmy, online with the DPS. So that's cool. So people who, you know, they're not sure of the laws and they don't necessarily want to take a class, they can just do it online with DPS. So nifty-tifty on that one. Okay, foster parents. This one was kind of back and forth. Foster parents will be able to own, because before, if you're a foster parent and you didn't have a license to carry, you couldn't have a firearm in your home, nor could you have one in your vehicle. So it made it kind of tough for people who were like, well, I love guns, I love kids, but I can't be a foster parent and do both. Now, with this new bill, or new law, I should say, because it's going to pass, yay, you can have firearms in your home and in your vehicle, and you can carry them, and it is completely legal to do so while having foster kids. Is it firm? Most LTC instructors are made. You know what, Belton Hunter? You know, a lot of LTC guys are thinking they're going to be losing money. They're going to be losing money, and in the short term, some of them may be, because people who are like, hey, sorry, my little thing popped up telling me my system is clean. That, oh, I'm going to be losing all this cash. They don't realize that, like I said, the numbers don't lie. The majority of states that pass permitless carry end up getting more people getting licenses to carry, and especially because, you know, they're dropping the price on stuff. By doing that, more people are going to get the license. Their numbers are going to go up. Plus, if they're smart, they'll diversify. And like the company I used to work with, Urban Defense CHL, located out of Killeen, every now and then I'll help them out now, but not as much as I used to. I was a range safety officer with them. I taught the shooting portion, not the class portion. That was too boring for me. But instead of teaching, hey, I'm going to give you this long class with this really short block of shooting, now they'd be like, hey, instead of doing that, I can give you like a really short block of, hey, here's the laws or stuff, the necessary stuff you need to know. And then we can spend 4 hours, 5 hours shooting, where they can teach you how to draw from the holster, which is what we used to do there. We had like a secondary or an advanced shooting class that taught more advanced shooting for people. It's like, okay, well, I know the basics, but I want to know more. So a lot of these guys, if they're smart, they'll teach a class for people who, you know, already have an LTC, or people who don't want to have an LTC, but they want to know more about shooting, and they'll teach them that kind of stuff. What's that? Yes, absolutely, Belton Hunter. More people will need those. And, you know, I've been shooting for, going on 30 years now. And, you know, I was in the military, law enforcement. Well, I shouldn't say. I was a law enforcement trainee. Worked in the prison system, armed security. So I've been shooting for my entire adult life. So I have training, but other people don't necessarily have it. Anyways, back to what we got here. Okay. Also, the bill added that it confirmed, because before, it's already a law that no city, county, or municipality can create any law that is greater than that of the state when it comes to criminal laws. But cities can still restrict, let's say, carry in parks or stuff of that nature that's non-criminal law. So they added an amendment in the session that said, hey, cities, you cannot restrict any carrying of firearms in parks or any public areas. So let's say all these small townships, like, well, I don't want people who aren't licensed to carrying in my parks, because, you know, like kids and stuff. They basically said, screw you, can't do that. Have a good day. So that's a good one. Okay, the 30-5 sign. There is a lot of confusion about the 30-5 sign. Waste of time here. I'm sorry, Texas, but we're waiting for the Senate to do stuff, so I'm filling time with information. You know, information's power. Anyways, 30-5 sign. So how it works, the 30-5 sign is kind of like the God sign. If a 30-5 sign is posted at a business, that means no one can carry it. That includes both people who have a license and people who don't have a license. Now, if you have a 30-6 or 30-7 sign, that only refers to people with a license. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's how the law is. Yes, Jimmy Horton, there will be a 30-5 sign. 30-5 sign, like I was saying, covers everything. So if you see a 30-5 sign, that means no one can carry, regardless of license or no license, either concealed or open carry. Jose Sanchez, yes, as long as you are legally in Texas.
Senator Hinojosa, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business taken and consider committee substitute House Bill 4663.
Thank you, Mr. President, members. This is a local bill dealing with Hidalgo County, and Hidalgo County, like most of the state of Texas, is currently experiencing drought conditions at this time. Innovative solutions are needed to address this challenge. Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1, which is overseen by the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court, is seeking legislation enabling to sell revenue bonds and enter into private-public partnerships. The district is looking for solving its infrastructure needs without raising taxes for the citizens of Hidalgo County. House Bill 4663 would enable the district to borrow funds that would be secured by the proceeds of the captured water as opposed to ad valorem property taxes. With that, Mr. President, I move suspension.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves suspension of the regular order of business on committee substitute House Bill 4663. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Rules to suspend the chair lays out on second reading. Committee substitute House Bill 4663. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 4663 relating to the powers of the Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1.
Senator Hinojosa recognized for a motion.
I move passage to third reading.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Bill is passed to third reading. Senator Hinojosa recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I so move, Mr. President.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Burgos.
Being 30 ayes and no nays, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage. Committee substitute House Bill 4663. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 4663 relating to the powers of the Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1.
Senator Hinojosa recognized for a motion.
I move final passage of committee substitute House Bill 4663.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves final passage. Committee substitute House Bill 4663. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Burgos.
30 ayes, no nays. The bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
All right. So back to what we were doing. Okay, like I said, 30.5 signs, God sign, everything. Now here's the dumb part. If there's a 30.6 or 30.7 sign, that only restricts people who have a license to carry. So if you don't have a license to carry and you see, and let's say you're concealed carrying and you see a 30.7 sign, still doesn't go to you. And let's say you see a 30.6 sign. You see, hey, 30.6, 30.7 signs. We don't want anyone to conceal or open carry, but you don't have a license and you're concealed carrying, you legally can still go in there concealed carrying because those signs don't apply to you. So yeah, that's kind of stupid, but hey, you know, whatever. I didn't write the law. I'm just telling you what it says. Okay. They had removed the verbal notification, you know, because the frail old 80-year-old person at Walmart, they don't want them having to walk up and go, hey, Sonny boy, you got a gun and I'm scared and I peed my Pampers. That was re-added. So now if you walk into a business and it doesn't have signage, they can't just go, oh, well, we called the cops on you. You're going to jail. Now they do have to give you verbal notification. It doesn't, and a lot of people are confused. It doesn't have to be verbal. It just has to be some kind of notification. They can write it down on a little card saying, hey, we don't like guns here, please leave. They can tell you, they can get on a bullhorn and yell it at you, you know, whatever. Regardless, some kind of notification has to be given. Okay, now here's a good one. This one we've been working on in Open Carry, Texas. It removes the belt and shoulder.
Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business. Take up and consider House Bill 1476.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business. Take up and consider House Bills 1476. Members, this is a contracting bill for governmental entities. This bill would require a governmental entity to quantify the amount of a dispute in a detailed and an articulate manner, allowing both parties to move expediently through the resolution process while requiring the governmental entity to hold payment no more than 110% of the disputed amount. With that, I move suspension of the regular order of business.
Member Senator Nichols moves suspension of the regular order of business. Take up and consider House Bill 1476. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 1476. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1476 relating to a vendor's remedies for non-payment of a contract with this state.
Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you. I move passage to the third reading.
Member Senator Nichols moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Bill is passed to third reading. Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I move to suspend the 3-day rule.
Member Senator Nichols moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Burgos.
30 ayes, no nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage HB 1476. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1476 relating to a vendor's remedies for non-payment of a contract with this state.
Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion.
I move final passage.
Member Senator Nichols moves final passage of HB 1476. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Cardwell,
Having
Blount.
30 ayes, no nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
I'll say one thing, they're whipping through the bills today. Okay, so this is one we've been trying to remove for years now. So existing law states that if you're carrying openly, this only is for openly, concealedly, you can stick it down the front of your underwear, you can throw it in your purse, doesn't matter as long as it's concealed. Now, openly, it has to be on a belt or shoulder holster within arm's reach in your body, basically. This removes that, so now as long as your pistol is in a holster of some sort, it's legal to carry. So if you have one of those little cup holsters where it fits in your cup and there's a little holster built into it, perfectly legal. If you have an AR-15 that has one of those little holster clips that go on the side, you could rip it off, perfectly legal. So you can put it on a 2-point sling, have a little Kydex slap thing that goes around the trigger and everything with a little pull cord you pull off. Guess what? This takes care of that. So thank you, Texas, for getting rid of that stupidity. So that's awesome right there. All right, next one we're going on to, okay. All right, so when will this bill go into effect? So if it gets passed today, it goes to the governor, let's say tomorrow, gets signed Wednesday, that doesn't mean we can start carrying. This bill will not go into effect till September 1st of this year. So it's actually not that bad, because if open carry, we didn't get it till January 1st of the next year. So that doesn't mean run around pimp style doing your thing. You do got to wait till September 1st. So yeah, you got to wait a little bit, but not horrible. Okay, this bill does not address the carry of firearms in the Capitol. That is something that the DPS historical, whatever society protection people decide whether or not you can or cannot carry, just like you can carry long arms on public area, but they say you can't carry them at the Capitol. Basically, they can say, screw the law, we can make up our own law because we're a bunch of Judge Dreds. So we don't know whether or not you'll be able to carry on Capitol grounds or into the Capitol without a license yet. That's going to have to be addressed further on.
Senator Gutierrez, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business. Committee substitute House Bill 4667.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider House Bill 4667, which relates to the transfer of certain state property from the Department of Public Safety to the City of Eagle Pass in Maverick County.
Member Senator Gutierrez moves suspension of the regular order of business. Committee substitute House Bill 4667. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Rules suspended. Chair lays out on second reading. Committee substitute House Bill 4667. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 4667, relating to the transfer of certain state property from the Department of Public Safety to the City of Eagle Pass.
Senator Gutierrez, you're recognized for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move passage to third reading.
Member Senator Gutierrez moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Bill is passed to third reading. Senator Gutierrez, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional rule. The bills be read on 3 several days.
Member Senator Gutierrez moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Cardwell.
30 ayes, no nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage. Committee substitute House Bill 4667. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 4667, relating to the transfer of certain state property from the Department of Public Safety to the City of Eagle Pass.
Senator Gutierrez, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage.
Member Senator Gutierrez moves final passage of Committee substitute House Bill 4667. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Cardwell.
30 ayes, no nays. The bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Gutierrez.
Okay, Jimmy, you know, that question was posed before of whether or not a magnet is legal in the vehicle. There is no definition of what a holster is in Texas law anywhere. So best thing to do is, I guess, classify it as a magnetic holster. Maybe put little Kydex sides that cover the slide just partially or something. And I don't know. That one, I guess, is one of those ones where it's kind of officer's discretion. If you have it on there and be like, yeah, just tell them it's a magnetic holster. You know, if you do that, then I mean, the best bet is I got a couple of magnetic holsters in my cars too, And I just keep it out of plain view. As long as it's out of plain view, it's technically concealed and you don't got to worry about it. Yeah, John said you can do the trigger thing. I just keep mine out of plain view. Out of plain view, then it's concealed. Doesn't matter whether or not it's in a holster or not. I just keep it, far enough under a dash where it's down a little bit, reach down, grab it, it's concealed. Don't got to worry about a holster. Okay, okay. All right, so here's the add-ons for when you cannot carry. So obviously if you're a felon, you can't carry. Now that's a weird one because Texas law states that if you're a felon, you can own a firearm to have in your possession on your own property for protection of yourself and your property. Now, federal law says that's a no-no. Now, if you guys saw the last video I put out last night, but we already passed the sanctuary state bill when it comes to firearm. We're just waiting for the third reading, and as long as it gets through the third reading, no problem, which it's almost guaranteed to, then that means federal laws will be null and void, which in that case, felons will be able to own firearms for the carry or possession on their own property for self-protection, protection of their own property. So as long as you're not a felon or convicted of spousal abuse, my hair is being a pain today. Spousal abuse or family abuse, you didn't beat up your girlfriend, your kids, or something of that nature. Then from that point, here are the list of things you cannot be convicted of. And if you are convicted of, you have to wait a minimum of 5 years. And that's not just 5 years from your sentence. That's 5 years at the end of your sentence, which means either jail time or the end of your probation. And that's the assault, deadly conduct, a terroristic threat, discharge of a firearm in public. So no shooting outside your house on the 4th of July and city limits. I hate those people. Carrying of a firearm in a manner to calculate alarm. Yeah, that's a stupid one. Basically, don't point your gun at people. Don't walk around with an AR-15 because you're new and you want to be super cool, and carry your AR-15 and point it at, or better yet, don't point your AK-47 at oncoming traffic during a BLM protest. Yeah, that's probably a bad idea. Gene Pierce, yeah, but the only problem about that is then you have to get a federal officer has to specifically go to a felon's home and they have to arrest someone for it. But the likelihood, unless a specific felon absolutely, pissed off a federal law enforcement agent, or they were getting, let's say, committed another federal crime, and they were, let's say, had U.S. Marshals coming to their house to arrest them, and then they found a firearm there, they can get caught for it. But for just that, if the local police show up and be like, hey, he's a felon and he's got a gun, nope, can't do anything about it. That's pretty much the protection they have on that one. Yeah, but it's pretty crazy where I like my guns in plain view and travel. Yeah, John, I like my guns in plain view and travel too, but that's simple. Like you can just, like I said, it's not the perfect bill, but it's better than what we had before. Okay, so back to where we were. Okay, so we did not get the 18 and over. It is still going to be 21 and over. Now, that does not mean that if you're 18, you can't. If you're 18, you can
Senator
still.
Campbell, you're recognized for a recognition.
Now we're going to.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Well, I want to recognize and thank 4 student interns that worked with the Veteran Affairs Board of Security Committee this session. They are seated in the West Gallery, and I'd like them to stand to be introduced when I call your name. Let's do it that way so everybody can see who you are. Drew Eisenman, stand up. Members, Drew is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps and is pursuing a degree in government from the University of Texas. Wave to everybody, thank you. Stay standing, Drew. Benjamin Reynolds. Okay, Benjamin is a veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard and just earned a degree, graduated. His degree is in government from the University of Texas, and you just graduated, didn't you? All right, thank you. Nathan McCracken, stand up. And I understand you have your parents with you, is that right? Well, let's have your parents stand. Mr. and Ms. McCracken, thank you. Nathan is a sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he just graduated with degrees in both government and philosophy at the University of Texas. He was also recently named the Marine of the Year for the 4th Marine Division and traveled to Washington, D.C. to receive the NCO sword from the Commandant of the Marine Corps. Quite an honor. Robert Pedrighi, I got it. Pedrighi is a captain in our U.S. Army and is earning his MBA from the McCombs School of Business at the University of Texas. Members, I want to thank all 4 of them for all the effort and the work that you put in for the Veterans Affairs and Border Security Committee. Everything you did helped us be a successful committee. You did an excellent job and your assistance was invaluable. I'll be presenting them each. I have a resolution for each of you that I'll be presenting as a token of the committee's appreciation. And I know that you each have a bright future ahead. And as your future is bright, so is America's, and so is Texas. So with that, thank you very much. Members, help me thank these interns with an applause, and thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, let's try to get to your questions. Jose, how would you carry?
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your service.
You doing something? You just playing around? Okay, why screwing up? Jose, how would one carry an AR-15 pistol legally with language given in the law? So as long as it has a holster on it. So let's say you have a clamshell Kydex that went around the trigger and the receiver, but it just has to go on it, like something you can grab a little Kydex or like a little paracord that can pull off it. Just put it onto a sling, have that little holster on it so it just covers it up because it is in fact a holster. Carry it normally, and if you need to use it, rip that piece off. There you go, holster. There is no definition of what a holster is, how it has to be on there. As long as it is in fact a holster of some sorts, you can manufacture them yourself. You're pretty much good to go. Okay, David Lofton. Okay, so there is a bill that just passed the House and the Senate that's just waiting for the 3rd reading and to get sent to the governor. That is the Second Amendment sanctuary bill. That makes it where Texas law enforcement officers cannot enforce federal laws that have to do with firearms. Now, that only includes firearms, not machine guns, short barrel shotguns, short barrel rifles, any of those, but only firearms themselves, which includes standard firearms and pistols. So if a standard law enforcement officer in the state of Texas went to a felon's house and arrested him for felony possession of a firearm, which is not illegal in the state of Texas, but is illegal federally, then they would lose, that city would lose their physical budget for the next year. That's why I'm saying it, because it only is covered within the other bill, not this bill. Okay, where's 18 over? Yes, Gene Pierce. If you are 18 in Texas, you only have to be 18 years old to possess a pistol. You got to be 21 to buy it, but you can own it at the age of 18. So if you're 18, you can have it in your car as long as it is concealed. You just can't have it opened. With this, that does not change that. I was like, wife's bringing me a hat to fix my crazy hair today. Thank you. I can stop playing with my damn hair every 2 seconds. All right, so you can still do that, and at 18, you can still have a long gun, which means you can still have a AR-15 fully loaded, safety off, sitting on your passenger seat. I wouldn't necessarily recommend having the safety off. Hey, to each their own, as long as you know how to properly use it. So you can still do that, just can't have a pistol outside of your vehicle other than various certain circumstances going to and from your vehicle and so on and so on. That's a whole different thing. All right. On to the final page. Okay, if you're caught carrying in a business with a sign that and they ask you to leave, technically, because before the existing law now, before the changes, before the changes, if you accidentally go into a business, we had the oopsie law, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the sign. They got rid of that. Now you can get charged with a Class C misdemeanor, which isn't horrible, but it's not great. I mean, because technically you get arrested for anything in the state of Texas. You get a cop who's just, I don't like you. Class C misdemeanor. Slap some cuffs on you. But it won't remove your license. If you have a license or if you don't have a license, Class C misdemeanor is usually just a fine and slap on the wrist. But so they got rid of the oopsie law. Now, if you get caught carrying in a business, and let's say they have to have proper signage at every door. If you went into a door, they didn't have the signage there, but had it on another door, you can simply walk out, take a picture that there is no signage or the signage wasn't legal, take it to court, fight the ticket, beat it. Now, if you don't leave, you go into a Walmart, you try to get into the whole. You've seen these people at Walmarts or wherever going, oh, well, it's my constitutional right to carry, and you refuse to leave when they ask you to, then you can get charged with a Class A misdemeanor, and you can get some jail time and some pretty hefty fines. Don't be that person. If you get asked to leave a business, just leave. They don't want your money. They don't want you to shop there. Just leave. Say, take your cart full of stuff, just leave it there. Be like, oh, you can put this away then. I'm leaving. Screw you guys. Okay. The big one we were talking before, the last one, is they had added where if you are on private property and you are carrying a firearm and you are intoxicated. Now, intoxicated when you're carrying a firearm basically is at discretion of the officer. You could have one beer, they can smell alcohol in your breath, like, oh, he's intoxicated. We're going to charge him with public intoxication. They removed that, so this is a big one for private property rights. And it's not just your property; it's any private property that you are on lawfully. They can't just be like, hey, there's a guy over there who's got a gun on his hip and a beer in his hand on his property. We can't just go and investigate anymore. So luckily, that's a big one. Trespassing, armed Class A misdemeanor. Yes, absolutely. So they got rid of that amendment. We were having issues with that before, so that's gone. Prohibited persons. All right. So the existing law now, before the new bill goes into law, is if you are a prohibited person and you get caught carrying a firearm, it's a Class A misdemeanor. So let's say you're a felon, you diddled your daughter, you beat up your wife, something of that nature. You're not supposed to have a gun underneath the Brady bill or felony or something of that nature. You get caught with a firearm, it was a Class A misdemeanor. Well, because a lot of the Democrats are afraid that this bill is going to have a bunch of people who aren't supposed to be carrying, they moved that to a second-degree felony. Yes, so if you are not supposed to be carrying a gun, don't carry one because they're going to try to nail you to the cross in that one. Okay, any person who's legally in Texas, I said this before, who's legal in Texas, and even as far as it's the way this is written, the way it looks like, and I may be mistaken, I'm going by someone who knows a lot more about law than I do. As long as you're legally in Texas, even if you're not a legal citizen of the United States, as long as you're here legally, technically you're able to carry a firearm, which you're not supposed to be able to own a firearm, but I don't know. That's what they said, but as long as you're legally in Texas, you can carry a gun. Okay, let's see. John, that consuming alcohol on private property while armed really bugs me and really glad. All right. All right, for campus carry. The only way you can carry on campus, now obviously open carry on campus is still a no-no, but only people with an LTC are going to be able to carry onto college or higher learning campuses. As far as they have it written for campuses, I'm assuming.
Senator Powell, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business, take up and consider House Bill 1967.
Oh,
thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider House Bill 1967 by Representative Thompson. House Bill 1967 requires the Department of State Health Services Center for Health Statistics to collect information on the incidence and prevalence of uterine fibroids in the state. I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to consider House Bill 1967.
Member Senator Powell moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 1967. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Rule is suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 1967. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1967, relating to a database of information about women with uterine fibroids.
Senator Powell, you're recognized for a motion.
I move passage of House Bill 1967 to the third reading.
Member Senator Powell moves passage to third reading. Is there objection?
Anyone else
Hearing and seeing
about?
none.
Comment.
Bill is
I don't know
passed to
what
third
this is.
reading. Senator Powell, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I move to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be read on 3 several days.
Member Senator Powell moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell.
30 ayes, no nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage House Bill 1967. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1967, relating to a database of information about women with uterine fibroids.
Senator Powell, you're recognized for a motion.
I move final passage of House Bill 1967.
Member Senator Powell moves final passage of House Bill 1967. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell.
There being 26 ayes and 4 nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Powell.
Thank you, members and Mr. President.
Hey, Gene, you got a couple of those ghost guns you can lend out? You know, I actually built the Palmer 80 and I put a serial number on it. I put, fuck you, right down in the bottom. I chemically etched it in the little spot there. It's like the cop ever takes the gun, like, what's the serial number? Ah, gotcha. Okay, so where were we at? Remove possession. Okay, yeah, so I have to have an LTC to carry on campus. As far as I know, you can still carry in your vehicle if you're going on to a elementary or high school in your vehicle. That's protected underneath Castle Doctrine, but can't carry outside of your vehicle onto a campus for elementary or high school. So don't do that. The TABC restrictions, I talked about this last night, have been removed. So there is a lot of controversy. I know a lot of the FUDs we're talking about, especially, you know, people, LTC instructors going, well, this bill's useless because the law says it's a felony if you don't have a license, if you walk into any business that has off-site alcohol or consumption sales, any place that sells beer, wine, or liquor for off-site consumption. So like Walmart, gas stations, any of those places that sell beer for outside use, or any restaurant or place that sells alcohol with less than 51% of their money coming in for on-site consumption. It was a felony to carry in those places. Well, that has been removed. It's been replaced. So now, once this goes into effect September 1st, you can carry into Walmart, gas stations, HEB, probably not Whole Foods because they don't like guns. But any place that you're able to carry for an LTC, you will be able to carry without a permit as long as they don't have a 30-5 sign. So all that's gone. All these guys going, oh my God, you can't carry there. You think the useless bill. Just tell them to shut up. They're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, the final one is, like I said, the Huffman Amendment was removed. Here is an amendment that specifically told police, hey, you cannot stop someone and demand to see their ID of whether or not they're legally able to carry. The reason they said is because there's already existing federal case law that says you can't do this. Now, we don't have anything in the state that tells them directly, hey, you can't do this. But of course, a lot of people don't understand that. So yeah, the only way in Texas, I know if everyone's HB is 30-7. Yes, Nathan, HB is 30-7, but you can still conceal carry. Or if you get one of those Glock socks, like I have, just if I have to go to HEB, because I like their sushi. Shut up, it's good. They're what the hell is it? The San Antonio rolls. Yeah, those are good. The little thing, it looks just like a Glock. It goes around my Glock. So, hey, it's concealed because it's a sock that goes over it. And I tell them, hey, it's concealed. And they usually just look at me and I'm 6'5" and like 325 pounds. They're like, that dude's huge. I'm not going to screw with him. I grab that, grab a drink, bam. I got my tea, I got my sushi, I'm out the door. Damn it, Nathan, you got me off topic now. Okay. I forgot where I was going. I hate you. Don't screw with a guy with short-term memory loss, okay? I had too many explosions in Iraq. I can't think straight anymore. Son of a bitch. Okay, so yeah, anyway, so police still think they can stop people. But in Texas, okay, people weren't sure. The only time in Texas you have to present ID, is during a traffic stop or if you're lawfully being arrested. Not if you're being detained. If you're being detained, you have to give them your information, which is just going to be your name. That's it. If you're being legal or lawfully detained because you're a witness to a crime, you have to give them your name and your address. But if you're just being detained for suspicion of a crime,
Senator Perry,
name. Come on.
you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business, take up and consider House Bill 3959.
Thank you, members. Mr. President, House Bill 3959 ensures the meaningful opportunities for Texas youth to continue by establishing a Texas Youth Livestock Show Fund to provide financial assistance in the forms of grants to youth livestock shows. Thank you for move to suspend the regular order of business.
Members, Senator Perry moves suspension of regular order of business on House Bill 3959. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, rules suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 3959. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 3959 relating to the establishment of the Texas Youth Livestock Show Grant Program.
Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion.
Move past third reading.
Members, Senator Perry moves to passage of third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, bill is passed to third reading. Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Move to suspend 3-day rule.
Members, Senator Perry moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt,
30 ayes, no nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage HB 3959. Secretary will read the caption.
HB 3959 relating to the establishment of the Texas Youth Livestock Show Grant Program.
Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion.
Move final passage.
Members, Senator Perry moves final passage of HB 3959. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell.
There being 27 ayes and 2 nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Perry.
Thank you, members.
Okay, safety first in Texas. Yes, that's the thing I very much agree with. Cops can be very friendly, and I know because I've went through a lot of interrogation training. They may come up super nice, smiling. Oh, you know, I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. Blah blah. The fact is that anytime a cop talks to you, they are trying to arrest someone, and that may be you. And even if it's not you, if you give them some kind of information, they may change their focus to you. So the best thing to do is, unless, you know, if there is like an active shooter situation or you actually witnessed a crime and there's a point where you need to help law enforcement to catch someone, by all means, help them. This isn't one of those snitches get stitches things. That's how crime gets worse. But if a law enforcement officer comes up to you and you do not have any...
Senator Buckingham, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business. Take up and consider House Bill 1475.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business and take up and consider at this time House Bill 1475, which seeks to provide necessary consistency across Board of Adjustment, the municipal board that grants zoning variances. With that, I move to suspend the rule at this time.
Members, Senator Buckingham moves suspension of the regular order of business, House Bill 1475. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, rules suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 1475. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1475 relating to municipal board of adjustment zoning variances based on unnecessary hardship.
Senator Buckingham, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you. I move passage to third reading.
Members, Senator Buckingham moves to passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, bill is passed to third reading. Senator Buckingham, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I meant to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be read on 3 several days.
Members, Senator Buckingham moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt,
30 ayes and no nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage HB 1475. Secretary will read the caption.
HB 1475 relating to municipal board of adjustment zoning variances based on unnecessary hardship.
Senator Buckingham, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you. I move final passage.
Okay, Nathan asked if we can mute them until the bill we want comes up. I did that for now. If that's what everyone wants and we can just talk about gun stuff, let me get some ones for yes, twos for no. kind of like a 10-second delay. So. Okay, the question is if you want me to mute the other bills, to hit 1. If you want me to pause so you can listen to the other bills and talk in between, press 2. Okay, looks like mostly ones. Okay, so who was saying it? David, what I was saying is if you have pertinent information to give to law enforcement, aka, yes, if a kid ran away and you have pertinent information to give to the law enforcement officer, speak to them. If someone stole your car, speak to them. If you have pertinent information about a crime that was committed, speak to them. By all means, if you have information that you need to speak to them about whatever situation that will help them, in their investigation about something, go ahead and do it. Let's see what they're doing real quick.
Services for children and adults to the Harris County.
Nope, still doing our stuff. See, it'd be nice if they actually wrote on the bottom of the screen what's going on. Now, I'm saying is if you're open carrying and you're walking down the street and an officer just walks up to you and says, "Hey, Scott," yeah, don't worry, Scott. It's going to get passed today. Just when, By the way, haven't been to Afghanistan, been to Iraq a couple times. So hopefully your internet doesn't cut out. But yes, no, if they're just walking up to you while you're on the streets and you're minding your own business, and they want to come up and just strike a conversation and they seem a little too friendly and kind of like this came out of nowhere, just to say, "Oh, I'm having a great day. Have a good day, sir." Just be polite, carry on. Don't be a dick. Don't be a douchebag to them. I mean, there's no point in being rude to another human being just for no reason, but don't answer questions. Don't give them more information that they have. Exactly. Casual encounters. Be polite to them. But if they start asking you a bunch of questions like, "Hey, oh man, it's a nice gun you got there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a nice gun. Have a good day, sir." Because that usually means that they're on a fishing expedition trying to get information, whether or not you're legal, this and that. That means they're there trying to get something from you. And believe me, I've had them try that before, and it's like, yeah, no, it's not going to work. So you go ahead and try that with someone else. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye. You kick rocks. So don't let that happen. Now, I don't know if you guys watched my video last night, but there are 2 other big bills going on. There's one we spoke about earlier, which is, I had it written down. Excuse me, I got horrible memory loss. You take a couple big explosions in Iraq, and I actually got knocked out by an air conditioner. Don't ask, long story. Funny though. And I got hit by a up-armored LMTV door when it lifted up because it's a cab over and flew open, hit me in the head. So now I'm a little slow. Also a funny story. Yes, thank you. 2622. Thank you, Guy. You are my hero. It is the Second Amendment Sanctuary State Bill for Texas. Very simple bill. Basically states that any federal law that pertains to firearms that is greater than that of state law is unenforceable in the state of Texas. So any state actor that is caught enforcing federal laws in the state of Texas, if they get caught doing that, the city will lose their physical budget, or fiscal, that's a fun word for Wisconsin people, fiscal budget for the next year. Let's see. There's a lot going on at once here. Anyways, so real simple bill. Now, that doesn't mean that law enforcement officers won't do it, and some might slip through the cracks, but for the most part, it will deter officers from trying to enforce certain stuff. Now, this is mostly kind of aimed at stupid gun bans, like, oh, well, you can't own an AR-15, you can't own an AR-15 pistol that has a brace on it. or you can't have, because it protects not just firearms, but firearm accessories and ammunition. I'm not exactly sure what ammunition they're really going for, but if the current, federal administration tries doing some stupid stuff with ammo, it basically tells them, screw you, we're Texas, no. Now, this doesn't cover, like I said, machine guns, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, or other weapons. Those will still have their federal, you got to have, the right licensing or tax stamp or so on to get them. But when it comes to standard firearms and pistols, they will basically say, no, F you, we're Texas, we're going to do what we want to. So that already passed the House, and it actually passed the Senate early Saturday morning, because they're doing the Blitzkrieg weekend, trying to get it all knocked out. Just got to go for third reading, then off to the governor. So here in Texas, if they try to do any, oh, we're banning this stuff, we're just going to give them the finger, carry on. Final one, my favorite one, is the suppressor freedom bill. This one makes me, because I have a gun up on the wall, but it's a live stream, so I can't do any firearms during live streams, or they shut it down. I have a multitude of suppressors. I'm not gonna tell you how many, but I have enough, and I never have enough because I always want more. Get some new caliber, and I got to have a suppressor for it. But if anyone who's ever bought one before, you got to pay a $200 tax stamp. Suppressors tend to be expensive because of all the regulations that the federal government puts into them. Then you got to wait anywhere between 2 months to a year. I've waited over a year for a couple. Wait, and finally you get it. Yay, I got my awesome little suppressor. And then if you ever need to get work done to it, you have to send it back to the original manufacturer. Then if you damage the outer core, if the serial number on it's destroyed, you can't do anything about it. You can only fix certain parts. Real pain in the butt. This new bill makes it where any suppressor that's made in Texas, sold in Texas, and resides in Texas, which means you can't take it out of state, is completely legal. Don't need a tax stamp, don't need a background check, and no waiting period. It's yours. There you go. And I've read the bill. It's very short. So as far as I know, the way this bill is put out, it would also make the manufacturing of suppressors completely legal to do in your own home, as long as it has either engraved or stamped on it, made in Texas. So this is great. So, let's say I got my .358 Windsor pistol. I need a suppressor for it. I can just go down to my garage, hop on my lathe, pick up some titanium tubes, some cups, make a little jig for it, weld myself up one. There you go. I mean, obviously you want to make sure it doesn't blow up, so you take your time doing it, but this will open up a huge industry in the state of Texas with companies that don't have to have federal regulations, because they will be treated basically as accessories that can start knocking these things out. And just go down to, your local gun store, like, yeah, I want that suppressor right there. Oh, well, because there's not regulations, it's only $200 because they're flooded the market, the prices went down. Sweet. Oh, by the way, here you go. Sales tax, $208. Here's my suppressor, walk out the door. So that's going to be awesome. Yes, Jenny, suppressors are easy to make. Now, I've never made one myself because I follow federal laws, and I just bought them, honestly. But I've made a lot of suppressor-esque stuff in the past on the lathe, and I'm pretty sure if I can take the knowledge of what I have between my suppressor or my lathe, my vertical mill, I can make a monocore one pretty easily. Yes, oil suppressor or oil filter suppressors would count. Grab yourself one of those little $15 on Amazon engravers, the metal ones, and just roughly put out, if you're pulsing this, made in Texas, I don't know if you need a serial number, but the serial number, first letter of your last name, last 4 00001, bam, there you go. Put it on the little adapter from Amazon or eBay, and haha. Well, one thing about those, they don't last very long, though. Okay, what else we got going on here? I understand silencer shop is tooled and ready to go for manufacturing. That would be awesome if silencer shop is tooled and ready to go. The big issue I have is I'm not 100% sure on that, is because you look at silencer shop, or basically any FFL is still governed by the ATF. So I don't know how the ATF would really get into people who are doing that, because they might go, oh, it's like, oh, well, your state says it's okay, but we're complete pricks, so we don't want you doing it. So best situation is they're cool about it and they just let them do it. Worst case scenario is you can't buy them at an FFL dealer, but you can buy them at non-FFL shops, where basically it's just sold as an accessory because they're not an FFL dealer. They don't have to deal with the ATF, and you just buy it like, oh, like, hey, a bunch of Magpul magazines, some grips, suppressors. There you go. So we'll see how that works out. James, no, we're going through a bunch of BS bills. I was hoping they were going to do 1927 first, but we voted to mute and just talk about gun stuff until they get to it. Let's see. Jones Spice would the feds arrested the seller and purchaser of a suppressor in Kansas. Okay, so yeah, so Kansas has a similar bill, and as usual, the feds kind of do whatever they want to do. Just like I know you guys heard it 100 times. Me and Almost Park, Almost Park, they didn't give a crap what state laws were. They were going to do whatever they wanted to do with their own little laws. So even though the state will say, "Hey, it's legal to do here," you got to be careful of stuff. So even though the suppressor thing will be legal in Texas, let's say you go through a federal one of the inland border checkpoints, and that's a federal officer technically, and he goes through your trunk, he finds a suppressor, and it has one of the made in Texas ones. Technically, being a federal officer in their little checkpoint, you're technically on federal land. They could arrest you and charge you with federal or illegal possession of a non-licensed or non-serialized or whatever suppressor. So there's always little caveats of how the federal government can screw you over somehow. Safety first, and that's a hard one. Federal rules don't only apply to federal property, because you have what's called the supremacy law. Technically, any federal law has supremacy over state law. And that's the issue, because the founders didn't want that. Originally, federal law was only supposed to pertain to federal property and interstate commerce, which is anything that went in between one state to another state, went from the United States to another country, which would be federal, or that happens on federal law. But then they decided, oh, well, we're the federal government. We don't have enough power yet, so we're just going to start making up stuff. And then, obviously there's issues in states, so they had the Supreme Court, and things just got out of hand from there. I will say if the suppressor bill gets passed, though, be smart about it. Don't carry that thing everywhere. Like me, if I have it, I'm going to keep them, and I'll go to my private range I go to. I'll shoot them there, and I'm not going to be keeping it in my trunk all the time. I'll have those. I call my emergency backup weapons. I'll have them on those, where it's like, hey, these are in my house. If the feds go after me, I get a bunch of marshals kicking in my door, I'm screwed. But other than that, I'll be fine. Hold on a sec. Sorry, the rain lately. I know how many of you are in Texas, but it's been raining for like 3 days straight, so humidity's been killing me. All right, so we got any questions? Because I kind of covered the gun stuff, and I don't want to be repetitive. Rudy, right now I was hoping they're going to get the 1927 right away, but we're doing a bunch of other little small bills. So what's with the weather? Yeah, Texas, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. I got to get out and clean my pool filters. Yes, Guy, absolutely be sure not to take that suppressor on the Army Corps of Engineer land. That's a smart thing to not do. Or better yet, don't get pulled over there. Well, Jacob, 1927 is pretty much guaranteed to pass. Well, I don't use the phrase guaranteed because something can always get screwed up. You never know. But yeah, it's more than likely to pass at this point. We're just waiting because, you know, they got to keep people in suspense. It's like they know people are watching, but now we're going to talk about like ovaries and, you know, cattle for kids and stuff like that just to be fun. Declaratory judgment. I'm not going to lie, Bebo, I don't know a whole lot about that subject, actually. And I don't want to start talking about it because I will either speak out my butt or I will just sound like an idiot, which is pretty much the same thing. Yeah, Jenny's right. You know, the permitless carry is a big thing, but you know, because I was around. I'm sure most of you were around too for the assault weapons ban in the 90s. You know, it's 10 years now. Luckily, I had an AR-15 during the assault weapons ban. Let's see, are we getting to the fun stuff yet?
Which is the sunset bill for the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. And with that, I move to suspend the rules at this time.
Actually, I kind of want to
suspension of the regular order of business. Committee substitute House Bill 1560. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none. Rules suspended. Chair lays that on second reading. Committee substitute House Bill 1560. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 1560 relating to the continuation and functions of the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation.
There is an amendment. Secretary will read the amendment.
Or amendment number 1 by Buckingham.
Senator Buckingham on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. The amendment before you includes the language from the 4 amendments previously offered in committee and circulated to your respective offices. It authorizes TDLR to establish a process for issuing a single license to providers who offer multiple types of driving education courses. The language was suggested by TDLR and is an efficient way to modernize the licensing of driver education businesses. It also removes a provision of the bill that authorizes TDLR to regulate residential service contracts. Regulating residential service contracts was not included in the TDLR Sunset Review and was not a recommendation that was voted on by the Sunset Advisory Commission. Therefore, it was removed. The amendment also removes a provision of the bill that changes the educational requirement necessary to be licensed as an audiologist from a doctoral degree to a master's degree. The speech language pathology and audiology program was not included in the TDLR Sunset Review and was not a recommendation that was voted on the Sunset Advisory Commission. The third part of the amendment is perfecting language that clarifies that all changes to Article 4, driver's training.
Okay, that was boring. I thought that was a different bill. Okay, so Jacob asked, what does the 2A sanctuary bill actually do? Okay, like I said, all it does, and it doesn't stop police, it doesn't stop federal agents, but it basically tells law enforcement in Texas, you cannot enforce any federal firearms law that pertains to firearms, regular firearms, machine guns, law enforcement, all those ones. Hey, I got my first super chat. Woohoo! Thank you, Joe Roscoe. Texas made. Texas is out of federal purview. Suppressors, good to have, and home defense weapons. Don't need a absolutely. I have a tiny little 300 blackout. That is my home defense. I use subsonic Swift. I have my one of my suppressors on it, and I don't want to wake up the whole neighborhood when I got to shoot someone trying to break into my house. Absolutely. Anyways, Second Amendment. So other than machine guns, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, and other types of weapons, it tells Texas law enforcement officers that they cannot effectively impose or enforce any federal law that is greater than that of the state of Texas when it comes to firearms. This is a preemptive law because we see these future assault weapon bans and the ATF trying to change definitions and trying to restrict laws. And it basically just tells the federal government, hey, we're not playing that game. And if a Texas officer does arrest someone or enforce those laws, it takes away the budget for that city for the next year. Now, federal officers can technically still come in and charge people and take them to federal court for that, but it makes it where the state actors cannot assist with them. Lost. No, not yet. We're waiting on it. I wanted to start it early, so I didn't start this up right when they're saying it, and everyone missed it because last time they got it early. So now you guys are having to listen to my semi-slow butt talk until they get to it. Jenny, yes, it's actually, I have quite a few that are nice because I don't know how many people have actually shot suppressors. Depending, because unless you have a real heavy, slow, subsonic, like 1,100,000 or less feet per second out of a really good suppressor, they're quite loud. Like, honestly, one of the quietest ones I have is a Draco pistol using some real low-loaded Russian surplus ammo out of a large 7.62 Silencer Co. Spec Work suppressor. And that was like almost movie quiet. But other than that, like every AR I got, because 5.56 subsonic ammo, it's like you might as well just shoot a 22. It's stupid. There's absolutely no point to it whatsoever. They're dumb. I mean, just get a 22 and shoot it that way. It's going to be about the same level of decibels. But yeah, it does reduce the sound quite a bit, though. I mean, because I got my primary duty weapon I got an AR-180. I got a thread-on suppressor because it just stays on there. And it makes it to the point where you can shoot indoors without deafening yourself. Reduces the flash, reduces recoil on it quite a bit. And it's a good thing to have. And if you shoot them at the range, it's to the point where it's like you can still hear it. I mean, you can audibly tell that there's something being fired, but it's just not crazy loud. Guy actually just found and subscribed to your channel. I wish I had found it sooner. Yes, I am located in Texas. I'm located right outside of Fort Hood in Killeen. I call it the butt crack of Texas. I was stationed at Fort Hood for almost 10 years. Went to Iraq a couple times. I'm originally from Wisconsin. Love Wisconsin, but I couldn't move back there. It was pretty liberal to begin with, and it got even worse. And after tasting the freedom teat of Texas, I couldn't leave. So I'm still here. I'm actually looking to get some land and start my own little compound, not like a crazy compound, but just have my own little shooting range, a little room to ride around dune buggies, stuff like that. Nothing crazy. So yes, I'm in Texas, right if you look at right in the center of Texas, that's where I'm located, right halfway between Waco and Austin. Yes, lost. 1927 did pass the House last night. The House decided, we're going to work through the weekend. We took too many days off this session as it is, and we only got 1 week left, so we're going to power through it. A little blitzkrieg session, and they passed it last night. So this is the final step before it goes to the governor's desk and becomes law. Yeah, Lost, I know what you meant. Don't worry about it. Okay, now so what branch were you in? I was regular Army for 4.5 years, and I was reserves. When I was looking at re-up, basically active duty said, hey, we're not going to give you anything. And reserves like, hey, we'll give you non-deployable status plus $10,000 and put you in a super cushy unit, and we'll give you your E5 back. I'm like, yeah, I'm listening. And then it turns out being in the reserves when being from active duty and first cav, I don't know if you can see up here, I got my Stetson and my belt or my buckle. It's like dealing with a bunch of, I don't know if it's socially acceptable, less than intelligent people trying to F a doorknob. Some of the people I'm reserving are quite nice, but a lot of them were just like, how did you make it in the military? Like, I thought there was a minimum IQ level and you're way below that. So it was challenging. It was very challenging being in the reserves. But I made it, so. To show support, only spend super chat in You know what? I'm just happy to get super chats. This is my first time I ever got a super chat. So you can super chat me $1. I don't care. I'm just trying to pay off all this super fancy equipment. I got the new Canon M50. I got my little studio set up. I got the studio light. I got the new mic. So I took that economic stimulus check and I'm like, hey, I'm going to make my YouTube channel better than that crappy Chinese HD camera I used before. So let's see. Jenny, thank you for your service. 57-year-old Marine vet here. Oh, got a Marine. I love Marines. When I was my second deployment in Iraq, we were down in the South Baghdad in the Mahal area, down at Falcon. And man, we used to run across Marines all the time up there. And they had nothing. They'd just be like 5 Marines with like a little tent sitting on a bridge, guarding that bridge with a 50 cal. They had nothing. So we used to bring them like hot chow. I'd bring them cartons of cigarettes, logs of dip, bring them fuel, ammo, water, whatever we could. Those guys were just like, it was like every time we went up there, it was like Santa Claus, which is funny because I actually played Santa Claus every year for my unit. I got my unit award. They named me Santa Claus. So, and I still do that every year. I go out to the homeless kids shelter. I buy toys for all the kids and I hand them out. So don't tell anyone. I'm actually a nice guy, but I got to keep my rep up. Texas is a free and independent state. Only the yes, safety first. That is correct. Texas is the only state in Texas that was originally an individual country that joined the union and has the ability to remove itself and become an individual country again. I've heard a lot of people talk about secession from the United States if things go crazy, which could happen. That's why we pulled out the majority of our gold from the Federal Reserve like 6 years ago. So if we wanted to, we could give the finger to the U.S., but it would take a little bit of time to get together. Okay, all vets, thank you for your service. I wish I could serve. Guy, don't worry about it. Everyone serves America in different ways. Not everyone's up for the military. My brother Jason, love him to death. He always says the same thing. He wish he could have served. Not everyone's cut out for military service. Some people are extra cut out for military service. They can't do anything else. But a lot of Matthew, no, not yet. We're waiting for the bill to come up. I got the random bills muted for now, and you're just listening to me talk about random stupid stuff until we get to it, because talking about ovaries and random stuff like that and sunsetting bills for the licenses and other stuff is whatever. Yes, Hawaii was its own kingdom. That was different though. It was a kingdom. It wasn't its country. That's like the difference between technically little specifics, but whatever. I'm lost where we're at and stuff. People are typing too quickly. Okay, SBC, Navy vet. Okay, gotta scroll back up. You guys are talking too quickly. Navy vet, 3K hours in a H60 and an aviation rescue swimmer. Nice. Yeah, before I got out in the reserves, I was actually a tail gunner on a Chinook. You want to talk about being useless? Try being a all-wheel vehicle mechanic, welder and recovery, who gets attached to a Oconus rescue team in the reserves that can't deploy, being a tail gunner on a Chinook. Other than practicing, I literally couldn't do anything. It's just like, hey, I'm here to fill a spot. It was stupid, but whatever. I got to shoot a minigun out of the back of a Chinook. I was happy. It was fun. It definitely gave me a freedom boner. Okay, HB1927 Jackson, that passed. It actually passed the Senate way late in the night, Friday night, Saturday morning. So it just needs its third reading in the House, and then it will be off to the governor to be signed. So both the sanctuary bill and the suppressor freedom bill passed the Senate, third reading, and then poof, off to the governor. So we're getting the trifecta of Second Amendment awesomeness this session. I don't know what we did. I don't know if it was everyone just really pissed off about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but they decided we're going to get some freedom this year. The Senate hearing for 1927. You talking about the last Senate hearing guy? Because if that's the case, I actually live streamed it. Yeah, it was. I couldn't talk a lot during this. I wanted people to hear, but I had some nice banners scrolling across, calling people out for being their stupidity of actual. I mean, just if I could reach through the screen and slap people for how dumb they are, believe me, I would understand. So, hey, cybersecurity, man, believe me, when it comes to computers, I have a perfect mechanical aptitude. I can look at anything with moving parts, figure it out, and fix it. Computers, I just stare at it and I call my guy Gene, going, Gene, I broke my computer again. Come fix it. Not good at computers. I can figure out basic stuff and I can do basic coding and figure out how to use like CNC and things of that nature. But yeah, cybersecurity, no, that is not my thing. Now, you want me to use a gun for security? I'm your man. Oh, let's see what this guy's got to say. I always love when this guy talks. He's stupid. Let's hear some stupidity.
To award grants to new or existing graduate medical education programs, to increase the number of first-year residency slots, and to support efforts for addressing the state's continued need for physicians. Currently, grants under the GME program are restricted to residency programs for training medical doctors and osteopathic doctors. House Bill 2509 will expand the definition of graduate medical education expansion program in the Education Code to include a national accredited postdoctor of podiatry medicine program, which will allow medical schools and teaching hospitals with these programs to qualify for GME funding. And with that, Mr. President, I move suspension.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 2509. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, rules suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 2509. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 2509 relating to measures to support or enhance graduate medical education for the practice of podiatric medicine.
Senator Hinojosa, you're recognized for a motion.
I move passage to third reading.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, bills passed to third reading. Senator Hinojosa, you recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I so move.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco,
There being 30 ayes and no nays, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage House Bill 2509. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 2509 relating to measures to support or enhance graduate medical education for the practice of podiatric medicine.
Senator Hinojosa, you recognized for a motion.
I move final passage of House Bill 2509.
Member Senator Hinojosa moves final passage of House Bill 2509. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
There being 29 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Okay, Keisha, you put holsters be required for pistols. Now, holsters will be required for pistols for open carry. There is no requirement for pistols to have a holster for concealed carry. So that means you can still put them in your purse. You can still put them in a briefcase. You can put them in a boot. Any place where you can't see the pistol at all, you can carry it however you want without a holster. You can have one of those little clip things that go inside your pocket as long as you can't see it. Now, there is no definition of what a holster is, and it gets rid of the requirement for a belt or shoulder device to hold the holster. So yes, you actually can't carry an AR pistol. You can put a sling on your AR pistol, and you can have, like I said, a clamshell Kydex holster that goes over the primary receiver portion and the trigger that just uses friction to hold on to it, and then have a little pull tab that pulls it off. As long as there is some sort of, well, I had a brain fart there. Excuse me, complete brain fart. Holster that covers it up. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is a holster of some sort, it is perfectly legal. So yes, you can carry with your AR pistol. It doesn't have to be on your belt like they did before. So it actually opens it up for being able to carry that in many more ways than you could before. No, we do not claim the tyrant bootlicking Latino reps. Well, you know, there's actually some good Hispanic representatives. Don't say it's specifically those type. They just happen to be the ones that get elected in the more democratic cities, you know. So it's not necessarily that. It just happens to be the representatives of the demographic of the more liberal areas. Actually, concealed carry of NFA items quite frequently. I have 29 NFA items. Wow, David, you got me beat by a lot. Use a AC 9mm Revolution, 9mm Glock 19. But yeah, you can, I mean, because you can, like suppressors, or even like short barrel rifles. There's technically, it's a rifle, and there's no restriction on carrying a rifle other than the usual, like don't carry it onto government property, don't carry it into a post office, don't carry it onto school grounds, stuff like that nature. You can carry a short barrel rifle just like you would a regular rifle. Same thing with suppressor. There's nothing that says you can't carry a suppressor. I actually made a holster for carrying my Glock 17 with suppressor attached to it that has a little heat guard so I don't melt the Kydex. So yeah, I mean, you can do stuff, you know. Zero laws against concealed carry NFA as long as registered. Absolutely, David, you're correct. You can carry any of the NFA weapons as long as you're doing it legally and you have the weapons lawfully, you know, or when the Freedom Bill gets signed in. Yay. Dire Avenger, no, not yet. We are muting the filler, waiting for the Senate to get to the good stuff. So we're just kind of going back and forth on everything going on. David, I have 5 transferable pre-1986 items. I wish I had the money. There's a couple times I almost pulled the trigger on, I think there was an Uzi, a couple MP5s. One time I found a lightning link at a good price, and then all of a sudden it went from like, hey, $3,000 to like $26,000 in a matter of a couple minutes. I'm like, oh, never mind. But no, I'm just waiting till I get my my FFL manufacturing and get my special licensing, and then I'll just make my own. I know I can't transfer or stuff like that, but I'll still get my giggles. Plus, I carried a saw in the military for my entire service career, so I got enough full auto shooting. Bought them in the early 90s when they were cheaper. Well, you know what? In the early 90s, I was 10, David, so I'm sorry. I couldn't afford them back then. Chris, no, nothing yet on 1927. If you didn't hear, 1927 passed in the House late last night. So we are waiting for it to hit the Senate floor today. It's supposed to be today. I was told it's today, so hopefully it's going to be today. Otherwise, I'm doing this for a whole lot of killing time. Oh, Joanne Huffman. So we're waiting on that. The only thing I'll say about carrying an NFA weapon or any NFA device is don't get arrested. Because if you get arrested and that weapon gets impounded by the police, they don't hold on to it there. They have to turn it over to the ATF or the FBI, and then they get a hold of it and they have to store it. So let's say you get arrested, you have a firearm and your charges get dropped. You can go to your local police station and you can get your firearm back. If you have an NFA weapon or suppressor or any of that, well, the ATF has it. You think they're going to come and give it to you? No, you might have to drive to Houston, or you might have to drive to a whole other state to retrieve your NFA weapon or suppressor because it had to go into federal custody. So don't get arrested if you have one of those in your possession. It's a real pain in the butt. Save your money and buy. You know, David, I actually have a bunch of money in crypto right now. I got Shiba Uni. I got like 50 million Shiba Uni. It's not a whole lot right now because it's down, but no, you got money in that, waiting for it to hit a penny. Once that 50 million hits a penny, that's going to be like $50 million. So hopefully. I had money in Dogecoin, but I got into it too late, and I was like, oh, it's supposed to hit $1 if Elon Musk, and then it ended up dropping out and I lost money on it. So yeah, that's why I'm not putting too much money into Shiba right now. Clayton, no, they have not voted on 1927 yet. We are waiting for that to come through, and I am randomly talking to try to keep you all amused while we're waiting on that for the last almost 2 hours now. Because I can start telling stories. I don't know. I guess I was telling stories earlier about my short-term memory loss. I know one of the ones that was funny, I was in Iraq, my second deployment. I was coming out of our talk, and I don't know if any of you ever been to Iraq or Afghanistan before, but everyone there is short. Like the average height of an Iraqi or Afghani male is like 5'5". So all the doorways are like sometimes maximum 6 foot high. Other times, what was it? What do we got going on with Hughes? Hughes is a good guy.
Exactly correct.
And you and Senator Huckman just had that discussion. I know you worked with stakeholders. I know your office worked hard on this. And as I understand it, with the amendment that you're going to be offering, should you move forward with the bill, that amendment solves the concerns of the different stakeholders and gets everybody on board. Everybody that I've heard from is on board with the bill once you put that amendment on. Is that your understanding?
Absolutely, that's correct. This bill is about fairness and reasonableness, and we've reached the point where all parties are agreed to that.
Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, Senator Nelson, for what purpose?
Question of the author of the amendment.
Do you yield, Senator Powell?
I do.
You're recognized, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Powell, I'm sorry. I want to slow down just a little bit. Tell me, and I'm on state affairs, but I was not there some of the time because I was working on the budget. So this was a bill that came before state affairs?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were the objections and how have they been resolved? Help me.
Well, one of the ways that we've resolved the differences is that originally the contracts were uninsurable with regard to.
Okay, yeah, we'll pause that. Okay, so anyways, yeah, Asian guys are short if you didn't know. So I was coming out of the talk, and there's an AC unit that was sitting like right at 6 foot high, and I'm 6'5"-ish. At the time I was like 6'3". My back compressed. I decompressed since then, so I've gained my 2 inches back. That's what she said. So I was talking to one of my buddies, wasn't paying attention. There's this AC unit with like metal corners holding the thing into place into this like mud hut kind of wall. And I just whacked square right in the top of my damn head and knocked out. Just saw white light hit the ground, and it went all the way through my scalp, and you could see my skull through the wound. It was nasty. So I woke up, 30, 45 seconds later. I don't know. I was knocked out. Everyone's looking around me. I'm like, oh man, I got up and I leaned forward, and the blood came out chunky, like literally just like blobs of blood. Like, oh, well, that's not good. And one of my friends, Torres, like, I got you, battle. He's running at me at the, with the medic pack and all that. And I'm sitting there like, oh, what the hell? And yeah, so I got knocked the hell out, and I had to go. And of course, I didn't want to get off duty because I was doing recovery, combat recovery details. So when I got to the cache, they're like, just we're gonna glue it up, but you can't wear a cape on. I'm like, no. Give me stitches. Like, we can't do it with stitches either. I'm like, can you staple it? Can you do something? It's like, if you staple it, you can wear a cape on, but you can't wear a soft cap with snags on it. Okay, staple it up. So for like a week, I'm walking around with no hat, no soft cap on. Everyone's yelling at me, hey, where's your soft cap? I'm like, whatever. Look at my giant skull. Showed them my little profile, but I was still able to work, so I was happy. But yeah, that's one of the many times I got knocked the hell out in Iraq for stupid stuff. Another time, I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but they've seen the LMTVs, or like the little cargo vehicles. They replaced the deuce and a halves. And the first generation of them were these like Mad Max looking combat vehicles, where they basically just took a stock one and just bolted a bunch of armor onto them. The problem we had, though, is if you weren't level or slightly back, if you were anywhere in a forward plane on a hill, because they're cab over. Cab over means the engine's underneath the cab, and it had hydraulic lift that tilted the cab up so you could access the engine to maintenance it. If you were anywhere forward, it was so heavy the truck could actually tilt and and go nose forward, and the whole back end could come up. well, I was working on one, and they had these really cheap latches that would latch the door closed. You had to make sure these latches were fully latched. Well, I guess this latch was getting kind of old and it wasn't really staying in place. So I latched the doors and it was jacking it up, and you know, the little air to hydraulic units were screwed up, so they had to do it manually. And I'm sitting here and I'm waiting, I'm talking, and this thing's going up, and all of a sudden this 450-pound steel door flies open, cracks me upside my head. And I woke up like 10 minutes later laying on the ground. Hi, what's going on here? And yeah, I had to take a couple of days off after that one because I'm pretty sure it Homer Simpson my butt pretty good. But that's a couple of the times I got knocked the hell out in Iraq. Okay, so David says we'll be lucky if it comes up by 11 p.m. tonight. Yeah, if you guys want to leave and come back every now and then check on it, I'm not going to be mad. Like I said, I'm just filling time until I see the little 1927 come across the screen. Okay, John Spicer, if there's paperwork, do I have to apply for transfer before I take possession of it? John, if you're buying a NFA weapon, or I think he's going to answer this. Yeah, so you have to, as David said, let's say I have a suppressor, machine gun, whatever, and I have a private owner, and there's another private owner who wants to buy said NFA weapon for me. You have to apply for the tax stamp, and I'll give you the information from said thing, and you have to apply for it once you get it. And then usually you go through an NFA dealer, or any dealer is authorized to do that, and they will facilitate it for you to make it more simple, and they usually get charged for doing it. And then once it goes through, gets approved, then goes to the dealer, and the dealer transfers it over. But that's usually how it's done. Hughes, what are we going on here? I wish they would. No, that's another one. Well, Adam, if you want to do it the easy way, you just do it the illegal way. Okay, so I'm not talking constantly. We're going to go back to listening to these bills for a little while.
Comes to the point of damaging property, harming people. That's another matter. And so we think about our law enforcement officers and the position they're often put in as they try to protect civilians and promote peace during marches and protests. And so we know there are situations where risks come with the job, but we want to protect them as much as we can. And so lasers, familiar with these little laser pointers, some of them are very powerful, some are very large, and they can cause serious injury. Right now, use of a laser pointer is a Class C offense. This bill would discourage dangerous activity toward law enforcement by increasing the penalty for knowingly using a laser against a law enforcement officer. Here's what would happen. A third-degree felony if it causes bodily injury, so a physical bodily injury, and a first-degree felony if it causes serious bodily injury. We've learned that some of these lasers are very powerful, serious permanent damage. Think about the eyes, think about burning of the eye. And so in addition to that, this bill also creates a criminal offense for exploding or igniting fireworks with the intent to interfere with the performance of or flee from or cause bodily injury to an officer who's lawfully discharging his duty. That's what the bill's about. We believe it's reasonable to encourage and not at all to quelch passionate protest, but to protect our law enforcement officers as they try to keep the peace. And so I move suspension of the Senate's regular order of business.
Senator Miles, for what purpose?
Questions of the author?
Do you yield, Senator Hughes?
Of course I'll yield.
You recognize Senator Miles.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Hughes, when you laid this bill out in criminal justice last week, you and I had some dialogue.
Yes, sir.
As it relates to the strength of the lasers.
Yes, sir.
And since then, my staff has come to make me aware that there are some stronger lasers that I'm used to being around and are familiar with.
Sir.
That can cause serious bodily harm.
Yes, sir.
From a far distance. I was not aware of those manufacturers and those lasers at that time, but after looking at some demos and some stuff on YouTube, I want to come to you today to say
I apologize for the misinformation that I had, and I want you to know that I support this bill now. I think this is something that's very important and that we should continue to protect all law enforcement.
That's right.
And these lasers, at the strength that they're being made at now, can definitely cause, as I've seen personally, serious bodily harm. So Senator Hughes, you have a good bill, and I support your bill. Keep up the good work, brother.
Senator, that's so kind of you. You know that you don't owe me an apology. We had a good discussion in the committee, and it made us both go do some homework and learn how serious these things are. I know your history, you as a law enforcement officer yourself in the past, but thank you for that, and I appreciate working with you. I always do. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Alvarado, for what purpose? Okay. Members, Senator Hughes has moved suspension of the regular business. There is objection. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco,
There
Buckingham.
being 26 ayes and 4 nays, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 2366. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 2366 relating to criminal conduct that endangers law enforcement.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to third reading.
Members, Senator Hughes moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, the bill is passed to third reading. Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
That's my motion.
Members, Senator Hughes moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell,
Being
Blanco.
30 ayes, no nays, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage HB 2366. Secretary will read the caption.
HB 2366 relating to criminal conduct that endangers law enforcement.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion.
I move final passage.
Members, Senator Hughes moves final passage House Bill 2366. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
There being 27 ayes and 3 nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. Thank you.
Okay, everyone keeps asking whether it's on the bill today. Everyone I've spoken to who's working down on the ground in Austin tells me that 1927 is going to be heard in the Senate today. So that whether or not it got put onto it or not, all the people I know, my friend AJ, who is the head of, I always forget his organization. Damn it. Anyways, my friend AJ, otherwise known as Tom Freedom, he, CJ Grisham, GOA, all of them are saying it's going to be heard in the Senate today. So as far as I know, it's going to be heard today. So yes, it should be heard. Like I would say probably a good 90% chance unless something happens, but they're going to suspend regular order to bring the bill up. It passed in the House.
Senator Buckingham, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business. Take up and consider House Bill 2822.
Obviously not
Thank you,
right
Mr.
now.
President and members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business and take up and consider at this time House Bill 2822, which provides for the automation and streamlining of the Medicaid prior authorization process for adult patients with severe mental illness by providing that if a patient has failed a 14-day trial of an
This one I'm going to pause on because we're going to talk about the laser one for a minute. So I had a friend, this was after I was off active duty. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with IR identifiers. They're basically a laser that does not show visible light, just shows IR laser. Just as powerful, but you can only see it with NVGs or night augmentation. And someone was screwing around with their little IR identifier put on a rifle, and they were pointing it at my friend's face, and he is permanently blind in one eye and has damage in his other eye, and he didn't even know it because he couldn't see. But the radiation, the infrared power that they put off by those lasers damaged his eyes, and he had to get out of the military for it. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones that those lasers, especially the higher wattage ones, and like I said, if people go out and they get the IR ones, they can point it at someone's face by just kind of aiming it, and you can lose your vision without even knowing that you're getting hit in the face with a laser. And they got, especially like the purple ones, you can destroy your retina in a fraction of a second. I mean, if you get hit directly in the retina of one of those guys, you're done. So lasers are no jokes. And there's,
I forget the name of them. There's a channel where a guy built basically a Death Star focus laser using a satellite dish and some other stuff he bought on like Amazon and AliExpress that he cut through wood boards with. So yeah, you can do some freaking damage. Well, that was a pretty short one. Is Schaefer there? Yeah, Schaefer's there. He's talking. That poor secretary, the only one in there. No, Attitude, however you pronounce her name. If I'm screwing it up, I'm sorry. They purposely cut her off because if they didn't, she would have to say the entire bill and every single member of the Senate. So they purposely cut her off, and she knows about it. That's just to save time. Let's see, not so Slim Jim. So what's you're saying is that a laser with a silencer capability? That's awesome. Kind of. You just don't want it to hit you. Now, I don't know if anyone ever shot an IR identifier at night with proper NVGs, but it's because everyone's like, how are you going to shoot your gun if NVGs on? It's like, you don't use the optic, you use the identifier. You get that zeroed in and you just point the identifier, which at night looks like a laser, at the bad guy, and you press the bang bang switch. That's pretty much how they work, because you're not shooting long distance with NVGs. If you do, that's why you have a thermo optic for. But whatever. So others like the D-ball. Yes, Guy, all those with the IR identifiers, if you aim that at someone's face, you will screw up their vision for life. So be careful. Pedro, night vision, infrareds, that's different. That's just a tiny infrared LED usually. That is not a focused laser or IR laser, so that doesn't really do any damage. I mean, we got even the sunlight puts infrared out. We just don't see it because we can't see it on the spectrum of light, which our eyes can pick up. What bill are they talking about? You have me looking at the camera for a second. Let me see what they're doing real quick. I got to turn this on for a moment.
House Bill 1227, House Bill 1257.
That's a lot of papers.
House Bill 1264, House Bill 1276, House Bill 1296, House Bill 1297, House Bill 1372, House Bill 1387, House Bill 1397, House Bill 1401, House Bill 159, House Bill 315, House Bill 699, House Bill 781, House Bill 840, House Bill 1005, House Bill 1011, House Bill 1049, House Bill 1069.
See, now I missed it. Did she mention 1927? And I was talking. If I did, I'm sorry. But like I said, everyone says they're supposed to have it today, or they're going to suspend regular order to present it. So I know it's supposed to be today. Now we're talking about that. I can expand. Okay, Mess or Jess the Mess. Okay, it already passed the House last night. So if it passes today, it is supposed to go to the governor tomorrow and be signed into law either Wednesday or Thursday. Once it gets passed into law, it will not go into effect until September 1st. So that doesn't mean anyone who doesn't have a license can start carrying automatically. You have to wait till September 1st. Most bills in the state of Texas has to wait. My wife is bringing me the lunch. I have the tarts of pop. Something I can eat without, no, in front of you guys, because, got to keep my blood sugar up. Okay. Peter? Yeah. It may not be on the regular list, but they're supposed to be bringing it anyways. They said that's what everyone's telling me. Yeah, it is MN Panan. I'm horrible with your guys' names. I really am. No, I'm fine, thank you. Sorry, wife asking if I need anything. Yeah, the disarm one, that's... So the way it states it works with the existing law is an officer can disarm you for safety, but they can only do it within certain reasons. It's the existing law now, but it just extends to people without a license. It's just they need to know whether or not they know the law. Schaefer, I haven't seen him at the moment. I'm going to double check with a few people, make sure what's going on. Open carry, Intel, Prep, KF, Battle Space. Yeah, so I'm going to try to make sure everyone knows what's going on. See if I can get any information from people. See if it's still going to be read today.
Senator Swertner, you are recognized on committee substitute for House Bill 1698.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the regular order of business to consider House Bill, committee substitute House Bill 1698. Members, this bill would allow the county commissioners of Brazos County to levy an additional $10 fee at vehicle registration if approved by a majority of the voters during a referendum. Move suspension of the regular order of business, take up and consider committee substitute House Bill 1698.
Any objection? Hearing none, the rules suspend. Chair lays on second reading, committee substitute for House Bill 1698. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 1698 relating to authorizing an optional county fee on vehicle registration in certain counties to be used for transportation projects.
Right, guy? We got the big boys here now, so we know it's getting serious. And I just hit CJ up from Open Carry, Texas.
Testing. There we go. You recognize on third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage third reading, House Bill 1698.
Any objection? Hearing none, bill passed the third reading. You recognize suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Secretary will call the roll.
Appreciate it, Steve. I used to live in Chicago.
Okay.
Not again.
It's
Love.
okay.
Oh God, I wish I could get myself some Buena beef though. David, yeah.
Alvarado, Betancourt, and Birdwell.
26 ayes, 4 nays. The rules are suspended. Chair lays out third reading final passage. Committee substitute for House Bill 1698. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee substitute House Bill 1698 relating to authorizing an optional county fee on vehicle registration in certain counties to be used for transportation projects.
You recognize on final passage.
I move final passage, House Bill 1698.
Secretary will call the roll.
I'm going to eat. Sorry.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
26 ayes, 4 noes. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
All right, so back to the long debate of open carry. And I hear a lot of people talk about they don't want to give up their tactical advantage and letting bad guys know whether or not, someone say Portobello's or Bezos, Chicago. You know, Portobello's is good. I like Buena Beef. I worked at Buena Beef when I went to school in Chicago, but Portobello's is also good. I'll take either or at this point. I can't get either here in Texas. But anyways, open carry versus concealed carry. And honestly, you can do either or. The greatest part about carrying a firearm, it is your decision on how you carry. The big thing is I always tell people is be mindful of how you carry. Like don't open carry into, like, let's say there is a daycare, a private daycare that doesn't have any rules about it, and there's a whole bunch of kids there. That may not be the best place to open carry. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying be mindful. You know, that might be a place where you might decide that concealed carry is a better place to do so. If you're going to be going to a little league game, maybe a better place, to not necessarily open carry. Now, if you're in a super gun friendly area and everyone's super cool about it, by all means, open
Senator
carry.
Taylor, you're recognized on House Bill 3629. Suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 3629, it would give the families of deceased property owners more time to discover and rectify tax abatement or deferral issues before a taxing unit may sell or file a lawsuit against the property. And with that, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business, take up and consider House Bill 3629.
Here's a good bill.
Any objection? Hearing none. Rules suspended. Chair lays out second reading. House Bill 3629. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 3629 relating to the date of deferral or abatement of the collection of ad valorem taxes on the residence homestead of an elderly or disabled person expires.
You're recognized. Passage to third reading.
I move passage to third reading on House Bill 3629.
Hearing none. The bill passes to the third reading. You're now recognized to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
30 ayes, no nays. Rule suspended. Chair lays out third reading and final passage. House Bill 3629. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 3629 relating to the date of deferral or abatement of the collection of ad valorem taxes on the resident homestead of an elderly or disabled person expires.
Recognized on final.
I move final passage of House Bill 3629.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell,
30
Blanco.
ayes, no nays. Bill is passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
But back to open and concealed carry. So another thing people talk about is, if you open carry, you're letting bad guys know you have a gun, and they're more likely to attack you if they're going to commit a crime. But people don't realize that most people who commit crimes do not want to commit a crime if someone else has a gun, because most criminals are pansies. Most criminals do not want to shoot. They want to go against unarmed targets, and they do not want to have any type of resistance. They want to go in, grab the money, get out. And there's been 3 times where I've been at gas stations in the area I live in where I open carry, because I open carry probably 90% of the time, where I'll be open carrying. And I remember one time in particular, 2 guys came in, masks on, this is before COVID, hoods up at night, hands in their pockets. They came in there with the aggressive, movement. One went towards the counter, another one went towards the back to control people. One dude towards the counter, looked at me, saw my gun, yelled for his buddy. Both of them real quickly left the store, got the hell out of there. 2 times similar incidents happened. So it's not, there's, like I said, 3 times where I stopped gas stations being robbed just from open carry. And that happens quite a bit.
Members, the plan is we're going to break for lunch at 12:30, and then we'll break for dinner around 7 so that the kitchen can plan. We'll break 12:30 to 1:30, then we'll break 7. We'll be here late tonight. Also, we're going to go a little slower today because we're getting amendments, as often happens the last 3 days, from everywhere on bills. And we're going to be sure that we're able to read them and you're able to read them. As you know, things happen with amendments in the last 72 hours of session. Senator Miles, you're recognized on House Bill 1935, suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, at this time, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider House Bill 1935. House Bill 1935 would allow pharmacies to issue a 30-day emergency refill for diabetic-related medication and supplies like insulin, needles, and syringes. It would also mandate that these emergency refills be covered.
Okay, so the way it's looking, they're going to be taking lunch at 12:30, coming back at 1:30, hour-long lunch. I doubt they're going to be hearing 1927 between now and 12:30, because it's only 10 minutes away. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to end this broadcast, and I'm going to be coming back at 1:30. That way you guys don't got to be listening to me babbling on for an hour. So come back at 1:30. I'll be restarting, same channel, same everything, same format. You guys get an hour to go and eat lunch and do stuff and not have to listen to me babble on. So I will see you guys back in an hour and 10 minutes. Hopefully I'll have some better content. Until then, Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna wait just to be safe, just in case. I'm gonna wait the 10 minutes. So at 10 or at 12:30, when they stop, we're gonna be taking a break. So until then, we're gonna be listening to the amendments or the bills that got coming up.
For amendment number 1 by Taylor.
Senator Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Continuous glucose monitors, known as CGMs, are quickly becoming the norm for testing blood sugar levels. These devices test sugar levels every 4 minutes to provide a user with more accurate and constant information in which to correct insulin levels. In fact, many people newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes will adopt this as their standard testing practice. Losing access to this, even for a short period of time, can severely impact an individual's ability to manage blood sugar levels and accurately administer insulin. My amendment would simply add CGM supplies into the definition of insulin-related equipment, and I do believe the amendment is acceptable to the author.
Senator Miles?
Mr. President, the amendment is acceptable by the author.
Any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. You recognize passage of third reading.
Mr. President, I move passage to Bill H1935 to third reading.
Any objection? Hearing none, bill passed to third reading. You recognize suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Suspend the 3-day rule, Mr. President.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Gordon.
30 ayes, no nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out third reading and final passage. House Bill 1935. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 1935 relating to emergency refills of insulin and insulin-related equipment.
You recognize on final.
Final passage.
And Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Gordon, Blanco.
30 ayes, no nays. Bill's finally passed. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President, for a very important bill.
Senator Nelson, committee substitute for House Bill 2896. You're recognized to suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider at this time House Bill 2896, which is the Funds Consolidation Bill. The Funds Consolidation Bill abolishes all funds, accounts, and dedicated accounts that are established by bills that are passed this session and makes them a part of the General Revenue Fund unless they are exempted in this bill. Essentially, this legislation helps us manage the creation of dedications each session. It is a safeguard to ensure that we examine what these bills do and their effect on revenue and appropriations. Members, I've been working very closely with the bill's author, the Legislative Budget Board, and the Comptroller's Office to ensure that dedicated accounts created this session are preserved and available for certification. I move suspension on House Bill 2896. Oh no, I move to suspend the regular order of business.
There you go. Any objection? Hearing none. Rules suspended. Chair lays out second reading. House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2896. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee Substitute, House Bill 2896 relating to the creation and recreation of funds and accounts.
You're recognized, Senator, on passage of third reading.
Move passage third reading.
Any objection? Hearing none. Bill passed to third reading. You recognize suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I so move.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt,
30 ayes, no nays. Rule suspended. Chair lays out third reading and final passage. Committee Substitute for House Bill 2896. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee Substitute, House Bill 2896 relating to the creation and recreation of funds and accounts.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage of House Bill 2896.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt,
30 ayes, no nays. The bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's see. Is that going to be it for lunch? I don't know. Because their timing's a little weird. They might say 12:30, but like, oh, we got those done quickly, so let's go to lunch now. It looks like people are starting to step off. Hard to tell. They do so much malingering in the Senate. Yeah, Jenny, they're just knocking these things out. It's the last week because the 31st. If they don't get these bills done by the 31st, they're dead for the rest of the session. Obviously, Texas only does this every 2 years, so they're trying to get these done now because they took so many 3-day weekends and days off for photo shoots and stuff like that. So it's like, whoa, we actually got to do work now. Oh, so can you imagine how many more bills would actually get done if they worked like this every day during the session, we pretty much get everything taken care of. Okay, we go. What are we doing here? Are we going to lunch? What are we doing? I want to know who runs this broadcast. It's like, I know they get paid a bunch of money. Can you just put up like, oh, breaking for lunch or something instead of like, oh, we're just going to do this back corner shot if we don't know what's going on. The blue stick, well, senators are much different than like reps, because reps, they only get a real tiny stipend per month because they're considered part-time, and then only get paid full-time during session. Well, senators, they're a full-time gig where they work full-time all the time. But yeah, during the session, like usually the first couple weeks, it's, yeah, you know, they take long weekends and they'll take half days and here and there. And then the last weekend before, or in the last week, they just work their butts off. It's like, you probably get a lot more done where instead of like you tried working like some high school kid before finals where you just slacked off all through the quarter and then try to work your butt off before finals. If you just tried to steadily do it the whole time, but whatever, government, that's how these guys work. Guy, the problem is a lot of these newer representatives do listen to the people and try to do in their favor. Dawn Buckingham, she's my senator. She does a really good job, but unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to money. If you don't do what a certain people or group says, they're not going to give you funding so you can run during the next election, or they're not going to give you money for this or money for that, and you won't be able to afford to get on certain committees, and you won't be able to do this. And it's really a stupid cycle in how things work, but everything basically breaks down to money. And if you don't get the endorsement from the police unions or from the CLEAD or from the Sheriff's Association, then you get bad grades. If you get bad grades, then you don't get money from whatever PAC. So at the end of the day, all it is money. You're a work history hunter? Yeah. Well, I'm a disabled veteran. I work myself. I actually gotta get a couple projects done. I've been slacking on, but this only happens once, so I'm kind of playing a hooky against myself today. Yeah, history hunter, you figured it's like they knew this is going to happen. They knew it's going to be the bill. Let's just get this one early so we can knock the other ones out instead of, hey, why wait till late in the night? You think they get it done because it's the one that everyone's waiting on to report and everything. But no, I swear they do the important bills at the middle or the very end just to piss us off. David Lofton, no, because the carry of long guns isn't restricted in Texas. So it's not really, technically it's kind of constitutional carry because there is no restrictions on the carry of long guns, which includes rifles or shotguns. So kind of, but it means you're just lawfully carrying because there's no laws against it. Last night was so much fun for 2 minutes. You know what? That sounds like every single one of my relationships when I was a teenager. Yeah. As far as I'm understanding of the bill, Jake Martinez for the suppressor one is yes, as long as it's marked made in Texas, there are no NFA restrictions. It removes all federal restrictions on them. It's talking about shooting in the back of Fort Hood. Well, Fort Hood, a lot of people don't realize that Fort Hood is actually next to California is the largest military installation in the world, and it's all government land. So if you get caught with a firearm on government land shooting, you go to jail for a little bit of time. So you got to be careful about trying to shoot anywhere in Fort Hood unless you're authorized to do so.
Senator Swertner, what purpose?
To make a motion.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the Senate Rule 5.14, the intent calendar rule, in order to move the intent calendar deadline to 9 p.m. tonight.
Any objection? Any objection at all? I can't imagine. Motion is adopted. I heard a great sigh of relief there. We're going to do just a couple of quick bills here before we break for lunch. Senator Alvarado, Committee Substitute for House Bill 619, you're recognized. Suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. House Bill 619 by Representative Sophronia Thompson. I'm sorry, I moved to suspend the regular order of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, rules suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Committee Substitute for House Bill 619. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee Substitute House Bill 619 relating to developing a strategic plan to support the child care workforce.
Recognize passage of third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I so move to pass the third reading.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Bordwell, Blanco, Buckingham.
25 ayes, 5 nays. The bill passed the third reading, and now you can suspend the 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President. Thank you.
And Secretary will call the roll when ready.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Bordwell, Blanco, Buckingham.
25 ayes, 5 nays. The rule suspended. Chair lays out third reading and final passage. Committee Substitute for House Bill 619. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee Substitute House Bill 619 relating to developing a strategic plan to support the child care workforce.
You are recognized on final.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage of House Bill 619.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Bordwell, Blanco, Buckingham.
25 ayes, 5 nays. The bill is finally passed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Zaffarini, you're recognized to suspend the regular order of business, House Bill 1423.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider at this time House Bill 1423, which would require the Health and Human Services Commission to conduct at least one annual inspection of each long-term care institution and to evaluate its capacity to regulate institutions and to provide utilities during severe weather and emergencies. It also would allow it to conduct an unannounced or follow-up inspection. There will be a floor amendment by Senator Perry that addresses some of the discussion at the committee hearing. Mr. President, I move suspension.
Any objection? Hearing none. Rules are suspended. Chair lays out. On second reading, House Bill 1423. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 1423 relating to the regulation and inspection procedures of certain long-term care facilities.
You're recognized on passage to, there's an amendment. Secretary, read the amendment.
Floor amendment number 1 by Perry.
Senator Perry, your amendment, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This floor amendment simply adds the breakdowns by study for types of facility, size of facility, and geographic region. Study will add context to the need for generators and potential costs. The last thing we want is pressing an issue is the press using incomplete information to scare people from seeking the services they may need.
Senator Zaffarini.
It is acceptable to the author, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The amendment is adopted. Thank you, Senator. You're now recognized for third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to third reading.
Any objection? Hearing none, we'll pass the third reading. You're recognized to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be heard on 3 several days.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Gardner, Blanco.
30 ayes, no nays. Rules suspended. Chair lays out third reading, final passage. House Bill 1423. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1423, relating the regulation and inspection procedures of certain long-term care facilities.
You're recognized on final.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Gardner, Blanco.
29 ayes, 1 nay. The bill is finally passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Whitmire, you're recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, I'd move we recess to 1:30 today.
Any objection? We'll recess until 1:30.
Okay, so someone had put in the comments, like I said, that 2622, they said that they looked on the state website and they said it did not pass. I double checked on multiple websites. Everything says it's passed and it's on its way to third reading. So I'm not sure what website they looked at. So it's still good. Yeah, looks like we're gonna have to take an hour-long break. So everyone, please go get yourself some lunch, take a poop, have some fun, and we'll be back with another live stream in an hour. See you guys then.